Hello guys, it's Ryan. How back in another video. Today we have the Fiio FT1. So you can see this is a really cool looking headphone. This is the Pro version of the FT1. It's honestly very different from their other headphones. So if you take a look, this right here is the FT1. This is the headphone that has taken the world by storm. It's one of the best values out there. They made a Pro version of it, but it's really different because it's not even the same driver type, and it's also open back. So it kind of just shares the name, but they're really both high value products. I think this is going to be a banger. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy this headphone because for what you get for the accessories, for the price and the sound quality and the tuning, it's also exceptional, just like the FT1 was. Now, the main difference, like I said, this is a planar headphone and it's also open back, meaning, yeah, it is, sound leakage, everything, you can hear everything, but it gives it a bigger sound stage. It makes it sound a little bit more natural, a little bit more airy because it's open back. So it does a very good job. But the second thing is maybe the Pro moniker. This thing definitely has better detail than even the FT1 that is so famous for. So this thing definitely has some upgrades, and in some ways it's a little different than the FT1. So I will kind of tell you guys how it compares between these two and which one I would choose. And then also make some comparisons to a lot of other planar headphones on the market. So we have a HiFiMan HE6 over here. I can't fit everything in this picture, but I have some Odyssey headphones, some Beyerdynamic headphones, some Fostex headphones. I've all compared to this headphone as well, to kind of give you guys a proper evaluation of how good this headphone is. Because I have to say, as a person who loves planars, who loves these type of headphones, I can tell you this is a really good banger, and a lot of people are going to enjoy this a lot. I wonder if the Pro means it's a studio headphone, because I mean, honestly, if people consider Beyerdynamic studio headphones, so this is honestly a better studio headphone than a lot of Beyerdynamic headphones are. So let's talk about that. All right, so let's unbox the Fiio FT1 Pro Open Planar. This is the new planar headphone. I would say it's their second one they've made so far. Pop this open. We have the same case as the Fiio FT1 Pro. We have the planar headphones. They look like a mix of the JT1 and the new FT1 with these kind of grills it has. We also have the same accessories as the FT1. So we have the 1/4-inch adapter, right? And then we also have the two cables, which is the balance cable and the single on this. So we have the 3.5mm cable right here. And here we have the balance cable, which is awesome. All right, so let's talk about the build. So this has a very similar build to the FT1. So you can see right here, it has that nice headband with the nice cushions up top. This kind of works because this headphone isn't that heavy. I think it's about 370 grams. And then we have all the kind of extension and, adjustability that you want. So you kind of move these up and down. And then this kind of has, pivoting and swiveling. So it has all those adjustments as well. So it does a really good job at, being adjustable. Now, we also have ear pads that are very similar to the FT1 as well. They have both the leather on the outside, and then we have the cloth right here. And then we actually have some perforated inside as well. So this allows it to really be very kind of, I guess, breathable. Your ears won't get hot in this. So I think a lot of people are going to enjoy that. And these pads are actually angled too. So you can see they're angled in the back. And then in the front, they are kind of shorter. So that ankle pad is definitely a design that angles it forward, which is really good. Now, the other thing is if I take off the pads, you can take a closer look at the driver. I actually haven't done this yet, so we can see the driver. It definitely has some dampening right here. So we have some foam dampening that probably helps cut the treble. So I'm sure some people are going to wonder what it's going to sound like with those taken out. It's probably going to be a thing that's going to happen eventually. But yeah, this dampening might also be responsible for why this thing has, a really good bass response. This thing has actually a lifted bass response, so I feel like that's probably one of the reasons why. But yeah, if you want to take a look, that's what the drivers look like. I would say one of the things about the build is my thing kind of has this like almost a squeaky type of gear. I think it needs to be oiled a little bit better. You'll sometimes hear while I'm moving it. So that's probably one thing that Mine has a slight QC issue right there. So putting this headphone on a scale, you can see that it's actually 379 grams. So this is a pretty lightweight headphone. Now, a lot of headphones like HiFiMan prioritize lightweight because planar magnetic drivers are really big, they're really heavy, and having a kind of lighter built headphone will really make it less kind of taxing on your neck essentially. So it's definitely pretty light. I can also put the FT1 as well on there. So the weight of the FT1 is actually 340 grams. So it is actually lighter than the FT1 Pro. And so if you want a lighter weight headphone, this one's definitely going to be the better option. It's because even though it has the wood cups, it doesn't have the heavy planar magnetic drivers that the FT1 Pro does have. And yeah, so you can see that this headphone comes with a lot of accessories, right? You get this nice bag, you get the double cables with it, and a nice build quality. For $200, this thing is already a really, really good value. But now let's finally talk about sound. So how does the FT1 Pro sound? So the best way to make this, I guess, describe this is it sounds kind of like a Sundara, HiFiMan Sundara, meaning that the mid-range is very similar. So you have a slight, I guess, HiFiMan mid-range, which means the mid-range is just slightly, very, very subtly, slightly a little bit more laid back than normal. It's not that much, but vocals still sound very natural. They're just never overly forward ever. And so this thing sounds really nice in the mid-range. But the biggest difference between, I think, this headphone compared to something like the Sundara is that it has better sub bass and it actually has a boost in the bass. The thing that makes this different from Sundara is that it actually has better sub bass, but it actually has a boost in the bass, which I think is pretty ridiculous. So a lot of times open back headphones simply have flat bass or rolled off bass. This one actually has a boost and it's a planar magnetic headphone, giving this a really, really fun bass response that you don't really get in typical headphones of this fashion, especially for open back. So you get that nice boost and it has this actually a pretty good dynamic impact. So you can actually feel the bass a little bit more than other actually models I've tried. So it has a very, very kind of textured, and the sub bass notes are actually pretty well kind of defined as well. So you can hear the low sub bass notes as well. So this thing definitely has a lot going for it. And I feel like that's what makes it kind of unique in the kind of planar magnetic world, that it has that boost in bass, right? Now, the second thing is that it differs from the HiFiMan Sundara or HiFiMan headphones in general, is it doesn't have the overly bright characteristic that I think a lot of planar magnetics, including the HiFiMan and some other kind of companies like Moondrop have. Some people take, the bright treble as a lot of detail, but this one does not have that. It's a lot more neutral, so you won't get any of those piercing type of sibilants or like any of that fatigue associated with more brighter sound. So I feel like for this headphone, it's a lot more close to neutral and it sounds a lot better for a lot more people, especially the younger you are, the more you're gonna enjoy this a lot more. So I think the treble is very, very well controlled, very nice. And that's the thing I also like about it. So it leaves us with a headphone that is almost tuned more, I guess, consumer based, right? You have a nice gentle neutral treble with a bass boost that you can enjoy, and then a really, really well-tuned mid-range that's not overly forward, just slightly laid back, just very ever so slightly, giving it a very natural sound, honestly. And that's the thing that impressed me the most about it, right? So obviously we have the HiFiMan HE6 over here, and then we have the FT1. So in comparison to the FT1, which a lot of people are gonna ask me, the FT1 is a bassier sounding headphone. It definitely has more bass. The lower mid-range and the mid-range just sounds a little bit more forward than, what a lot of people call the 1 to 2K. So a lot more the male vocals, a lot of like the body of the voices sound a little bit better on the FT1, in my opinion, while this one sounds just slightly laid back. But then when you kind of get to the higher trebles, I feel like, maybe because it's an open back and because it's a planar, the FT1 Pro just sounds a lot cleaner in the treble. I would say in the kind of upper regions of it, around like 4 to like 8K, it just sounds a little bit more clear, I think, on this one. So there's definitely a little bit more improvement there versus the FT1. So really, that's kind of the biggest differences between these. in terms of like tuning, right? So I guess the question a lot of people are gonna ask me is which one would I choose? And I think we need to talk about soundstage and imaging, right? So obviously, because the FT1 Pro is an open back headphone, it's gonna have bigger soundstage, right? There's just no limits to it. It doesn't get stopped by the physical cup. So it does a lot better in that respect. Now, when it comes to imaging, they both have angled pads, but the FT1 also has angled drivers. So when it comes to imaging, I find that if you're playing competitive games or just want the absolute best directionality of your sound, the FT1 definitely wins for me. I actually didn't have an issue using the FT1 Pro, but the FT1 just sounds a little bit better when it sounds a little bit more centered, just ever so slightly. But when it came to actually judging how far things are, the distance between like close and like further for me, especially when I'm playing games, it was a lot easier to tell on the FT1. It's just, I think, a better competitive gaming headphone, if you want to call it like that. And also there's a little bit more bass, so it has a little bit more of a funk signature as well. So I feel like if you like more bass or you want better imaging, then the FT1 definitely excels in that. Versus if you want more soundstage, you like a little bit more airy, a little bit more natural sounding treble, and you like more detail, I think the FT1 Pro excels in that sense. And so for me personally, which one do I like more? It's really hard for me to decide, but I feel like because I like playing a lot of games, because of the angled drivers of this and a little bit more of a bass on this one is a little bit more exciting, I do slightly lean more to this, but I think both are really excellent choices because honestly, they're very different, right? They're different driver types, they're different form factors. This is closed back, this is open back. So honestly, both of these headphones are probably represent the best value for both categories. So if you want open back, go for this. If you want more isolating closed back, go for that one, right? Now let's do some more detailed kind of comparisons to the competition. So we have the Hyphen HE6 SCV2. And what I actually find is that the bass of the FT1 Pro is actually stronger because it actually has a boost in the bass and the sub bass as well. So the bass actually sounds, I guess, more fun and deeper in this one actually, which is surprising. And then the mid-range of this one's actually better as well. It has less of a scoop, while this one is an older Hyphen. It has a bigger scoop in the mid-range, so the vocals sound a little bit more distant. But this one actually has more treble emphasis. So if you like a treble emphasis, it does come across as a little bit brighter, but a little bit more, I guess, detail. It highlights those kind of upper kind of treble sounds a little bit more on the traditional Hyphen Man versus it's a little bit more, chiller, a little bit more neutral on this headphone. So I also have three more headphones on the table. I guess the Odyssey M100 is probably the best comparison first. The Odyssey M100 is $400, right? While FT1 Pro is only $200, right? So this is a $50 increase from the original FT1, right? But the planar magnetic drivers of this one and the tuning of it actually sounds more studio-like on the FT1 Pro than even the Odyssey M100, which was honestly very surprising to me. Depends on what you define as like studio. Like this has a flat bass on the M100, but this one has a boosted bass, which sounds just a lot more fun, a lot better in the sense of like getting that low end excitement. So I find that better. And I feel like a lot of headphones, especially even beyerdynamic headphones, have that boost in the bass. And that's what, honestly, what a lot of people consider to be more neutral, while this is more, I guess, flat. And then when it comes to actually the mid-range and the treble, I actually find the mid-range tuning in general of the FT1 Pro to be actually more forward and more natural sounding than even the MM100. So yeah, if anyone's interested in buying the MM100, I'm actually gonna sell it because I'd rather listen to the FT1 Pro, to be honest. Now, we have the Beyerdynamic Tiger 300R. This is pretty much, some people call it a DT880 kind of new version, retuned version of that, which is essentially what it is. But it has better bass, lower bass notes. The mid-range is actually a little bit more forward, a little bit more natural than even Tiger 300R, and doesn't have as much of that treble emphasis, the 8K, like a lot of Beyerdynamics have. Overall, I found the detail on this one to be a lot better, the tuning to be better, and yeah, overall across the board, I feel like the FT1 Pro just kind of crushes the Tiger 300R. So, and it's honestly about the same price. This one's a little cheaper now, I guess. This is about 200. This is about, I think, like 170 last time I checked it. So if anyone wants to buy my Tiger 300R, I'm also gonna sell it because I have way too many headphones, and I honestly think this headphone can just take over both of these headphones, right? Now, the last comparison, I haven't done a review on this one, I need to, but we have the T50RP. I think this comes in at $250. This is the Mark IV, the newest version of the headphone. This is one of the most legendary plain hermetic headphones that a lot of people have modded. I mean, in default form, just out of the box, at the same price point or cheaper, you get more accessories, you get, honestly, I mean, the looks wise, I guess people can debate which one people like more. They both have metal extensions, they both have plastics. But when it comes to sound, I also do prefer the FT1 Pro to even the Fostex. And these both have plain air magnetic drivers as well. But I feel like the drivers are actually bigger on the FT1 Pro and they sound a little bit more bigger and a little bit more spacious. Well, this is a semi-open. This one is a open back headphone and it has actually better bass too than the T50RP. Another comparison I actually like to make is the FT1 Pro, which is $200 versus the $450 FT5. This is their first player magnetic headphone. It is obviously built with more metals and more robust quality because it is a lot more expensive and it comes with better accessories and it has these Foley leather pads. Now, I actually think the FT1 Pro sounds better if you're looking for a more, I guess, neutral and balanced type of sound. The FT1 Pro sounds better. If you're looking for something that's heavily colored, heavily characterized, this is a very bassy, warm type of headphone, so it's definitely not your typical like balanced headphone, right? So the FT5, the thing is the bass is very strong, but there's a lot of, I guess, mid bass or upper bass that kind of bleeds into the mid range versus the FT1 Pro does not have that same issue. And the FT1 Pro actually has better sub bass or deeper sub bass. It's a little easier to hear than on the FT5. And then the vocals and the mid range is a little bit more clear, more, I guess, neutral than even the FT5, and there's a lot more stronger kind of treble emphasis on this headphone as well. So overall, it sounds more clear in general than in comparison to the FT5. So I think for a lot of people, you're probably gonna like the FT1 a little bit better. It sounds like a almost refined version of the FT5 if they were looking for something more balanced sounding, rather than something that's really, I guess, very warm sounding on the FT5. So it's safe to say I did a lot of comparisons to make sure that this headphone was accurately tested against the competition to see how good it is. And I have to say the FT1 Pro is honestly astonishingly good headphone. It has just a very, very nice tuning, very fun, very, I guess, more consumer oriented. And a lot of people are gonna like this over the competition because it doesn't have that boring flat bass. It doesn't have that, excessively piercing treble. It has a much more neutral, very well-tuned headphone type of sound, which is exactly kind of what we all expect from Fiio, and they called it FT1 Pro because they're confident that this is going to be just as big of a banger as their FT1 with the wood back. So I'm happy to recommend this headphone. I'll leave links in the description below if you guys are interested in picking them up, because honestly, this probably is going to be sold out and everyone's going to go for this. And the funny thing is, I almost feel like this headphone has almost out HiFiMan, if that makes any sense. Like, HiFiMan is a company that's known for making a lot of planar magnetic drivers that are really, really affordable. But this one at $200 kind of is cheaper than the Sundara, which is, I think, like $280 on sale, $300. It comes with more accessories, more cables and everything. And it's also a planar headphone, and it's tuned better and more exciting too than it. HiFiMan has some competition coming from the Fiio out there, and it just gives us more options and even better value options on the market, which is what I think Fiio does really, really, really well. So another market disruptor, I would say. Honestly, people are going to be writing so many things about this. This thing is honestly so good. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.